Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Jeroen Courthout of Salesflare. Jeroen, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Definitely super excited to have you on. And before we jumped in, I want to read a little bit more about Jeroen so you can hear about all the awesome things that he's doing. And Jeroen is co-founder and CEO of Salesflare, an intelligent CRM built for small SMBs selling B2B, mostly popular with agencies and SaaS companies. Salesflare itself was founded when Jeroen and his co-founder Lieven wanted to manage the leads for their software company in an easier way. They didn't like to keep track of them manually and built Salesflare, which pulls customer data together automatically. It's now the most popular CRM on Product Hunt and top rated on review platforms like G2 for its ease of use and automation features. Jeroen, are you ready to speak to the IMCL community?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Awesome. Well, let's do it then. So, just to kind of kick everything off, I wanted to rewind the clock a little bit, hear a little bit more on how you got started with all the awesome work you and your co founder are doing.
With Salesflare, I think it all started when we went to a conference. There was this big IBM thing going on in Vegas. And we went there. My co-founder actually had a software company. We were selling business intelligence software. So it was basically like looking at data in companies and making sense out of it. And we had software that was compatible with IBM's. That's why we went to an IBM conference. Now, anyway, we had a booth there. We got a lot of people interested in our products. So we had a lot of leads to follow up because they were interested, but they didn't buy yet, right? So I think about 130 or something. And we were super excited, but we had to start managing this. And I had personally worked with a CRM systems, like a customer relationship management system called Salesforce in the past. For those who are a bit familiar with CRMs, probably know it because I think they control like 20% of the market or something. So the biggest player. It's a really great system if you're a corporate and you're trying to build a system in which all your workflows are embedded, and you basically get an army of consultants which customize it for you, and then you basically get a set of building blocks and then build your system from there. That's what Salesforce does. But it's not really practical or easy to use for the end users. It doesn't really help you sell. And I knew that because I had been struggling with Salesforce for 4 years. So we looked around, didn't use that. The guys were using Zoho before I came in, and that was sort of like Salesforce but cheaper. And then we looked at systems like, I remember, Pipedrive and Streak and all that. Now, where we failed in all of these systems is that they weren't necessarily bad systems. Like, they were actually way better than Salesforce. It's just that they all came with this outsized expectation of us filling them out. So we would get a system, and all we had to do, between brackets, was fill them out consistently, completely, all the time. Like any moment anything happened, we would say like, oh, this should go in the CRM. Anytime somebody would send an email that we hadn't been in touch with yet, we would go, oh, this is their name, this is their email address, this is their phone number, this is their position, whatever, we put in the CRM. They've emailed us, we put that in the CRM. There's that company, we put that in the CRM. They call us, we put that in the CRM, all the time, like CRM. And it's something we couldn't keep up with. And we figured that's actually why most people hate CRMs, because it's so much work. First, and then often in many systems, even if you put in the work, it doesn't really help you sell either. And then we figured that actually all of that data input is kind of dumb, because it's usually information that already exists digitally elsewhere. So it's already present in your email system. A lot of these things, it's already present in your calendar. It's already present in your phone. There's stuff in company databases, which you're manually taking over and putting in there, stuff in social media. There's maybe email tracking and website tracking, which is even somewhere else. And it's all spread out, but not in the CRM. So what we then had in mind coming from our sort of data background is like, what if we made a system that would pull this all together for us? We don't have to put it in there anymore because it automatically does that. And it organizes most of it. It just doesn't do some things. It will offer those as suggestions to us, because if the system does everything fully automatically, then we sort of lose control. So the system works this way now. For instance, you say, I'm going to sell to this company, type the name of the company, it finds all of the information about it immediately, like as a search engine. Like you start typing the name, it says this one, oh yeah, that one with that website, create it, pulls the information about that company. It tells you who you know at the company. Like it sees in your mailbox, your calendar and all that. It sees, oh, these people you know. We also got their information, some stuff from social media, some stuff from email signatures. Which ones do you want to add? These ones, not these ones. They're added, so you just have to do a few clicks. Then it pulls in the timelines. Like we can exactly see, like these are the emails you exchanged with them. These are the meetings you had with them. They opened your emails, went to the website, clicked here. You also had a call with them in your phone. Boom, it's all there. Then you can see who your colleagues know, because that we also know, and you can visualize that. We don't give all the information about that because it's a sort of a privacy issue. But at least you can see like, oh, my colleagues also know people well, and actually how well they know them. Like you see this little Wi-Fi connection signals. It says, well, this guy they know really well, and it's actually that colleague that knows him well, and that colleague also kind of knows him. So this is all information that we immediately bring to people without them having to type it all in the system. And then on top of that, we started building way more, because as the system can track way more than you would ever do manually, we can also build all kinds of smart stuff on top of that. Like it can tell you, it seems that you haven't talked to this customer for X days, and you said that if a customer is in this stage, you want to follow up with them every Y days. So it might be good to follow up. You get a little notification about that and stuff. It can tell you that there's emails you forgot to answer, or notes they haven't put on a meeting yet, because the system currently does not make your notes yet about meetings. Maybe at some point, when we just basically record the meetings, take the speech, turn it into text, summarize it, that could happen. But yeah, so a system that automatically tracks stuff for you, helps you sell. And it's used by small and medium-sized businesses who sell B2B, like you said. Mainly actually like marketing agencies and consultancies and software development houses and tech companies, SaaS companies, and telcos are the main types of companies on the software, all across the world, like 40% North America, 40% Europe, 20% rest of the world. Currently about over 2,000 companies using the software actively. And we're, like you said, top rated on G2. I think we're the number 2 easiest to use system on G2, and the number 1 easiest to implement, and that's across 650 CRMs. But I feel like I'm overselling the thing now, so I'm going to
And no, I absolutely appreciate it, because I did want to hear, more on how it works and how you serve the client. So that was actually right on line with everything that I was going to ask you about. And so I wanted to ask you, and this could be for yourself personally, or the CRM, or a combination of both, for what I call your secret sauce. But to me, and definitely correct me if I'm wrong, it kind of sounds like the secret sauce might be that phrase you said that really stuck with me about helping people to be able to sell. I think so many times
Mm-hmm.
people build things, they start adding different features and different things, and they forget about like why they created the thing in the first place. And that ease and the ability to help people be able to sell more is why people want CRM. So it sounds like you're going hand in hand with that. I don't know if that's what you would consider to be like your secret
No,
sauce.
exactly. We help people sell, and automate part of it. Now, the main bottleneck is the thing I explained. It's the data input.
Mhm.
That's where it usually goes wrong, because the CRM is supposed to help you sell, right?
Right.
And some of them are not exactly built for that purpose, but many are. But the thing is, if the data input doesn't happen, the system will not do that for you, because it all depends on that. So that's why we set out to fix that issue first, and are now building from there to offer more and more interesting stuff and make things even easier. Because in the end, as a salesperson, you can not just rely on your memory. That's very hard. I mean, it's doable if you have 5 customers, but as soon as you reach 10, 20, and especially if you're trying to go after not necessarily customers but like 100 leads or something, then it becomes really really hard to do that based on your memory.
Yeah.
And you'll forget stuff, not just about people, but to follow up
Follow
with
up. Yeah.
someone. And you actually need to be able to give every single customer the feeling that you are the only customer they no they are the only customer you care about. Like,
Hmm.
give them that very personal
Touch.
feeling,
Hmm.
and not the sort of feeling where you are managing chaos and they are somewhere in your chaos. And that's what a CRM system helps you with, if it works. So our goal there is mainly to make that work.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge. I appreciate you for breaking that down. You're absolutely right, because I was thinking that just from how you all started, where you said you had those, 100, 200 people that you wanted to follow up with from a conference. And anybody who's been at a conference, you get kind of bombarded with the amount of people to connect with, and then thinking about, putting them into like a CRM that doesn't necessarily work for you or work with you at least, probably brings everybody heartburn. So I love that you've been able to kind of create that, to bridge that gap and to allow people to be able to use it as a tool to help them to be able to sell and hit their goals.
Yeah, yeah, we use it for conferences. We have the an built-in business card scanner.
Nice.
So you meet someone at a conference, you take the app, you scan it,
Mhm.
it takes the information, it immediately shows it to you, and it goes to the server and back to process. I think 5 seconds or something. Then you
Mhm.
have the information. You can for instance add a tag, and you say tag conference, or you add it in a field, and then you can even that's something we do personally. They get added automatically in a flow of emails. So the first email will be like, "Hey, we just met at a conference, little GIF and stuff. As we discussed, if you want to use our software, here's a little discount code." Yeah. And then normally, you come back from a conference. Yeah, first of all, it's very hard to remember who you met. You have like this bunch of business cards and stuff scribbled on it,
Yeah, on
and
the
all that.
back.
Yeah, and then you actually need to get yourself to sitting behind a computer and actually following up with these people, which is also very hard. So we've automated that. So there's the first email going out and the second one, and plus, if you then go into CRM, you can very easily filter on people I met at the conference, and then from there start emailing. You could even, well, I'm explaining too much, but you could when you create it, you can
Mhm.
immediately create the company as well, put a little note in it, and you don't need to put it on the back of the business card. Anyway.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you for breaking that down, because I think it's important to think about those things. I think if people have, been using a CRM, maybe some of those pain points that sometimes we don't even know why we don't want to use it, because we have to think about putting all that stuff in manually, which makes us not even want to do it. Or even if you haven't, decided to use a CRM and aren't incorporating that, what things you should be able to look for, and that ease of use and that simplicity, it sounds like, as well too, to help people to be able to do that. So definitely appreciate that. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit. I
Mhm.
wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
um, I think it's probably two, three main things. Um, it all starts with sleeping better. If you don't sleep well, you immediately feel it. Your days sort of, and you can bleep this out, fucked. Um, so that's super essential. I have a very strict sleeping rules for myself and rituals and all that. It all changed when I read the book Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker.
Mhm.
And that's kind of ironic because my master's thesis was actually on sleep. So, and even I didn't really take it super seriously.
Mhm.
I also try to eat healthy. A book I can recommend there is what's the name of it? I don't have it here. How Not to Die.
Mhm.
It's by Dr. Greger.
Mhm.
Really great book. It's if you like eating meat, don't read it though. And another thing is exercise, which is sort of an obvious one as well. Together, that will make you feel so much better physically and mentally, which is one thing. And then a second thing I would add there probably is just the simple act of planning your day at the beginning of the day. In our team, we do this. We have a stand-up meeting, and that means that every morning at 9:30, we all get on a Zoom call right now because we're not going to the office, and we say what we've done the previous day, and we say what we do that day, and that just makes that you have to plan your day because you're going to tell your colleagues, right?
Mhm.
And that makes me personally, for instance, so much more effective because I actually make a list of all the things I want to do that day, and then I can just go through it. If you don't do that, you very often find yourself lost somewhere or procrastinating, or but when you do it, it makes a ton of difference.
Yeah, I absolutely appreciate those hacks. And of course, looking and approaching our bodies as, the machines, I guess, that they are, and making sure that we fuel them in terms of rest and what we're putting in as far as like what we're eating. And of course, getting that regular exercise is absolutely important because we have to understand that in order for us to serve, we have to make sure that we serve ourselves as well. And so many times we forget ourselves and we just try to run through that brick wall, so to speak, but we have to kind of take care of ourselves so that we can serve so much other. And I love that kind of intentionality of having that meeting with the team, because it allows that opportunity to make sure everybody's on the same page, redirect, but at the same time I think get that engagement and interaction and that team feel, which I think everybody wants to know that they're kind of rowing towards a specific mission. So I appreciate those hacks. And I wanted to ask you now for what I call a CEO nugget. So that could be a word of wisdom or piece of advice. It might be something you would tell a client, or if you hopped into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
Oof, so many small things. It all depends on. When I actually I was sort of late for recording this because I was talking to someone who wants to start a business now, and there's so many things that you have to transfer in sort of in terms of wisdom of what to do. Like we for instance discussed the importance of starting off with your whatever you want to build very small. It's very obvious and very well known, like building a minimum viable product or MVP, offering like the minimal thing you can, so that you don't uh, overwork yourself before you can offer something and take a great amount of risk. um, that's that's huge. Or just the fact of um, taking things step by step and not um, running faster than you can walk, whatever.
Mm,
um, like initially when you start a business, don't immediately give up your job. Start doing it on the side, then build it up, and as soon as you feel like you can make some jump there, do it, but don't take an enormous amount of risk. The same applies sort of also to when you're building up the business. A lot of people I talk to say like, "Oh my God, you do great marketing at Salesflare. How do you do that? How can we do that as well?" And very often they're in the very beginning stages, so they haven't even sold their product more than 3 times. And then I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter how we do marketing. Also, the way we do marketing now is not the way we did marketing 3 years ago, because we've evolved as a company. If when I was in your stage, I would actually be finding leads, understanding what they were about, trying to find out what their issues were, work with them through the whole thing, Like for instance, we sell a CRM, and you can just go on the website, start a trial, try that for yourself. If you don't want to talk to us, you don't talk to us. You set up the whole thing, put in your credit card, it works. That's not how it always used to be. In the beginning, you were probably contacted by me, or you read about us in some newspaper or something, or you would go to our website, you would find a form, you would fill it out. I would email you. We would get on a Skype call. It was still Skype back then. Um, I would show you the software through screen sharing. I would then, if you would like, I could set it up with you because it wasn't very easy. So I would set it up with you. Then I would show you through it. I would support you, and the whole thing extremely labor intensive. But that was good. That makes sense, because if I would not have done that, our conversion rate would have been very, very, very small. So everybody that would have gotten interested in Salesflare, we wouldn't have closed as a customer. Plus, I would also not have learned how to do it. Like, I wouldn't have been there for all the little embarrassing moments and all the learnings that happened along the way. And we wouldn't have to be able to build out what we have built out now. Uh, I mean, we could have looked at this kind of video recordings of what people do and then try to rely on that, but that's super hard. So the simple advice there is, and I think if you type in Google, do things that don't scale, which is an essay by Paul Graham, read that. It's sort of around this exact theme, and it will help your thinking a lot when it comes to starting a business, because the initial stages of a business are very much about doing things that don't scale and then scaling them, of course.
Mhm. Yeah, I absolutely appreciate that, and that's absolutely huge. And scale the unscalable, so to speak, and understanding how you want to scale and how to scale, I think is absolutely huge. And you getting that data and that information, especially in those beginning days or that beginning period, is absolutely huge because, like you said, it allowed you to understand, like it sounds like what things could scale and what things you maybe didn't want to scale, or one things sometimes you even want to pivot the business into. But a lot of times you have to have that back and forth interaction with the clients to be able to understand that, so you can kind of grow from there. And everything that you were saying to me, like one of the common threads I heard was just approaching the business, and I say this often, like it's a marathon. I think so many times once we have an idea, we want to quit our job. Once we have an idea, we want to build out the biggest viable product that we can have. But I think if you understand that it's a marathon and you start to use that data in order to scale and grow, then that puts you up with that opportunity to scale and to scale successfully later on down the line.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So now I wanted to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So Jeroen, what does being a CEO mean to you?
I think it means giving direction to the company, at least towards internally. I mean, to the team. It's setting out that direction together with them, but being like the guiding force in that. It's it's often saying no, like they say, because there's so many things you can do, but there's only one way you will take in the end, obviously, or you might try a few in parallel, but then still there's so many more that you're not trying for a reason. Um, so a CEO is about giving guidance internally. It's about saying no, and I think externally it's also um, partly about giving a similar amount of guidance, the same that you give internally, but then towards externally. But it's also representing the company when necessary, at critical moments, towards key customers. You need to be there as sort of the face of the company.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that definition, that kind of holistic look at it, and understanding the different people that we're serving, I guess, within the roles as well too, because of course we think about our clients, but we also have to think about our teams and team members and everything that, goes into kind of building a company and an organization. And we have to have that holistic look at all of those things and make sure that we are, fulfilling that gap and providing that support. So Jeroen, truly appreciate that definition. I appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is just pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know, and of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things you and your team are doing.
Um, Nothing to add that I can think of right now. If you want to get in touch with me, or you want to learn more about Salesflare, Salesflare is on salesflare.com, and sales is easy to spell, but flare is FLARE, like the flare. And you can read about our software there. We have a blog you can check out if with any advice about startups and sales and all that. And you can also try our software. The trial is um, somewhere between 7 and 30 days. It just depends on how well you set it up. Because the further you set it up, the more days we give you on the trial, just to incentivize people to set it up further. Because we've seen that people who actually get serious about it are way more successful. And if you want to get in touch with me, best place is LinkedIn. Just take my name, type it in Google or on LinkedIn, you'll find me. There's only one person with my name, so you can't miss. But please, when you send a connection request, include a personal message. Otherwise, I have no idea why you're contacting me, and there's so many spammers out there right now. I will just assume you're one of them. But if you include a personal message, I will certainly connect with you, and we can have a chat.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I truly appreciate that, Jeroen, and that's a nugget as well too to remind everybody, because there's loads of people that are looking to try to connect, but just take that little extra step and put your reason for connecting or why you want to connect or where you heard Jeroen from as well too in that comment. But we will have the links and information in the show notes as well too to make it even easier for everybody to follow up with you and get a hold and see all the awesome things that you're doing. But truly appreciate your time today. Appreciate all the awesome work you're doing, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Same for you. This was fun.